Python 101 lesson 6 is all about expressions. Expressions are any combination of variables, literals, and operators that compute to a single value. Big words. Let's take a look at what that means. So we've used expressions to assign values to a variable. For example, if you said x assign value 10, that gives the literal value 10, the number, to the variable x. Some expressions do not assign a value, but just evaluate to a value. For example, I plus 3 would give you a value. My function, 1, 2, and those are not numbers, those are letters, or treated as letters. Hello plus blank plus world would print out hello space world. The value of an expression evaluates could be a string, a boolean, which is a true or a false statement, or a number, and can appear anywhere that you want value to show up in code. So let's look at the kinds of expressions. So arithmetic expressions, you're going to use a number and a math operator like plus, minus, multiply, divide, and the mod operator. Logical expressions would be not, and, or. And string expressions use the strings that you're using, and then it can use the plus equals or plus. The plus, when you have a string, is called concatenate. And all that means is I want you to take this word or this string and add on this other string to it. So for example, here is an example of concatenation. I just call it concat. It's a lot easier. Hello, and then plus, space, plus world. That's going to print out literally hello, space, world. So it'll say hello world on the screen. So there's some here that you can try on your own if you want to see them, other than the ones that I just talked you through. In this lesson, you will also be looking at numbers and order precedence. So numbers, the different kinds of numbers that we work with in Python thus far would be whole numbers, but also we can work with numbers that have decimal values. Those are called floats or floating points. We just call them floats for short. So anything that has a decimal value is going to be called a float. And all numbers are considered numbers, but whole numbers are considered integers. Did you know you were signing up for a math class when you took computer programming? So, for example, if I have score and assign it the value of 3, that is an integer because it is a whole number value. If I have the variable amount and I put $39.99, that's a float or a floating point because it has a decimal. You can convert between these types. You can take a integer and turn it into, or a string and turn it into a whole number using the int function. So if you have the number 10, but it's stored as a string, you can easily convert it back to a number that you can work with. You can convert a string to a floating point number. So if you have a string value, again, of numbers saved as text, you can change them to float. You can also convert a number to a string with decimal numbers by string and number. So let's look at an example here. So in this one, we have x equals 25, and this 25 is a text value because it has the quotes. So if I take that x and put int in front of it, I'm saying, please change this string 25 into a whole number. Now if I print 25 plus 7, I will get 32. In this example, we're converting a float from a string. So this has a string, so this is treated as text. If I put float in front of it, I can change this to be now a number, a floating number, and put that in the x value, and then I can use it to compute math problems. One other thing that we need to cover, that you will use in this lesson is operator precedence. So the order of operations that matters. It's something that you've learned in math for many years. Think of PEDMAS, you've heard that before. So we go parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract, comparison. Then there's a little bit more when we get into programming. Negation, logical and, logical or, and then the assignment operators. Woo! Look at all that. Crazy. So there's a huge order of operations. So you can play with this order of operations to change a value by adding those parentheses in. That's going to be your easiest way to change how they evaluate. You could also add in some exponents and see what happens when you change those. There are a couple other things at the very end here, lists and dictionaries. I would like you to watch the videos that I have linked on the weekly sheet for that instead of going over it now, because you're not going to use that in any of your coding for this lesson. Please make sure to do the review and the quiz when you are done.